Welcome to episode 9 of Drake's Takes. And that fancy new little intro that was just rolled out was brought to you by, or created by, Mr. John Brannigan. Thank you so much for making that, sir. Really appreciate it. You can follow him at Inverse MMA on Twitter if you would like to make some great stuff. I've known John for quite a while. But anyways, that's not why we're here today. We are here today because I just don't get it. I just don't get it. What am I talking about? The new fascination with a fight between Jorge Masvidal and Nick Diaz makes no sense to me. I don't get it at all. And it's quite simple. It is really, really quite simple. Okay, I'm just going to say this right away. You know, a lot of people, fans and whatnot, don't like to compare MMA to professional wrestling, but they don't like to think that they're similar or have too many relations, but they really do. And I think this is a great example to show that, because this fight, there's nothing interesting about it aside from the story, which is what Jorge mentioned, because I watched not below the belt, Masvidal on Brendan Schaub's show, The Food Truck Diaries, yesterday, that new episode. And they were talking about it, of course, and Schaub's all for that kind of stuff. He always is. And I like Schaub, usually, for the most part, and I'll just put that out there. So yeah, they talked about that, and Jorge said, yeah, great story. Like, he even knows it. He knows what he's doing. He's a very smart guy. But, Brendan was kind of really pushing that on him, so that just made it all the thing. And, okay, here, let's get to the sharing here. I mean, okay, just to look at the stuff on paper here, okay? I mean, why? Jorge Masvidal he's ranked number 3 in the world right now, welterweight, rightfully so. Fighter of the Year candidate for 2019. Why would you want to see him? Why would anybody want to see him fight anyone outside of the top 5 right now, right? Somebody who's going to give him a good fight. Nick Diaz has not fought since 2015. A fight that he lost originally. This is a no contest now, but was not competitive at all. Wasn't a great fight either. Aside, the highlight we all remember is the first round where he was laying on the mat, which it's not exactly fighting, just to put it plainly. And then, the fights before, not very competitive against St. Pierre, the Condit fight, Nick Diaz in his recent fights, which were 4 years ago, not very great. And these are against top level guys. BJ Penn in his return, that was one-sided. And when I say not a good fight, it's like a fight isn't a good fight unless it's competitive. I don't think. Sure, a fight can be entertaining if it's not competitive. So, like, the BJ Penn fight, for example, wasn't, earned fight of the night, but, it was pretty one-sided beating for Nick. So an entertaining fight, maybe it wasn't the best fight, but on that card, they gave a fight of the night for sure, whatever. But a good fight needs to be competitive, I think. So, like, for example, Nate Diaz versus Jorge Masvidal, not a good fight. It was entertaining to watch, but Masvidal, he was winning every second of that fight. With Nick Diaz, though, why would you want to see this? Okay, the guy, and this is completely aside from, any speculation about his current health and physical state and all that stuff, which was a big talking point after, the Helwani talking. I don't want to call it an interview necessarily, preaching, I don't know. But yeah, it's not like we're going to get prime Strikeforce champion Diaz here coming back if this fight was to happen. I just don't get it. There's no reason to believe it would be any more competitive than the Nate Diaz fight. And in 2019, Nate Diaz is the better Diaz. I don't think you can't argue that. I don't even need to support evidence for it if you've been following the sport. Sure, Nick's a little bit bigger And I've seen people make the argument there, yeah, he's bigger, so he's gonna have a better chance, and he's pretty much a similar style to Nate, his brother, and all that, except better. Like, yeah, back in the day, but he's bigger. Okay, well, did we not see Masvidal knock out Darren Till, who's a middleweight now, and right in the thick of things, and surely some other guys. I mean, even Cerrone, who not a huge guy, but he fought at welterweight as well. That's not a good example. But anyways, the point is, Nick's not like huge or anything. It's a silly thing. There's nothing interesting about it aside from that. And if you are one of those people who don't like the WWE comparisons or things like that, then you cannot want this matchup. That's what this is. It's so weird. Nick Diaz hasn't fought since 2015, hasn't won since 2011. That is the exact same situation as Brock Lesnar, essentially. Look, he hasn't fought since 2016. No contest, cheated. Hasn't won a fight. This is exactly the same. I didn't realize that going into this. He's got no contest and 2 straight losses. That's Nick Diaz. Look at right there, and then hasn't won in about 10 years. You guys, roughly 9-10 years. Getting there. By the time he was to fight again, it would have been. I mean, but nobody wanted to see DC and Brock, but it's okay for Nick Diaz. It's kind of professional wrestling-ish. And, even for another example, it's just like, so I follow Sean Rassap of Fightful. Shout out to Sean. Fantastic. I follow him on Twitter, so I see all of the stuff he talks about, which is, wrestling stuff more often than MMA. And I remember him saying when Kofi Kingston was champion earlier this year, and Samoa Joe, let's slide over here, got his title shot. Samoa Joe right here. This guy, when he got his title shot, he attacked Kofi. It's WWE professional wrestling stuff. But he hadn't won a fight or won a match in like months, right? He was on a big losing streak, but he got a title shot anyways because he attacked Kofi randomly. How is that different than Nick Diaz returning after not winning a fight since 2011, not fighting since 2015, and fighting one of the best guys in the world right now? That is exactly the same thing as this WWE matchup between Samoa Joe and Kofi Kingston from earlier this year. And it's the exact same thing as if Brock Lesnar would have came back and gotten a title shot against DC. The only thing that is driving the interest in Nick Diaz versus Jorge Masvidal is the story and the hope that Diaz will be competitive and return to, his golden days. And sure, I'm not knocking that. That's fine. If that's your reason, those are the only logical reasons in my mind. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but if that is why you want it, then you cannot complain about things like Brock or MMA, UFC, going the WWE type route, because that is what this is. Okay? I mean, is it not? I would love, let's debate about it. But I don't get it. Like, Masvidal versus Leon Edwards, or whoever wins between Usman and Covington. Those are infinitely better fights, more competitive fights than even Masvidal versus both Diaz brothers, against Masvidal versus Conor, anything silly like that. Those are the fights that people should want to see because those are the best fighters. It's so strange to me, but it just kind of shows that people, they like the entertainment aspect more, I suppose, than the legitimate, ladder climbing style these days. Still, I don't know. I don't get it. I had to get this off my chest because it was I had to talk about it. So it just doesn't make any sense to me as somebody who is so, what's the word I'm looking for? Such a purist. I have such a purist mind. I really want to see Masvidal fight the best guys. And no offense to Diaz and all them. But if you follow MMA in 2019, they're not the tippy top best guys. So that's just my take on it, and that's why it's called Drake's takes. So yeah, let's leave it at that. I feel better now. That was some therapy for me. So thanks for tuning in, and let me know if you agree or disagree, because this is such an interesting concept to me, the idea of this fight. I really hope it doesn't happen. I know a lot of people want it to happen now after that interview, but I really don't care at all for it. I really want to see Masvidal versus the winner of Covington Usman. He's fixing up his wrist and hands and all that stuff. There's time to wait. He doesn't need to fight between that. He can fight the winner, even though those guys, it seems like they have negotiation troubles. At least they have in the past. Maybe it was just for each other. Either way, he deserves a title shot. Okay, just give him his title shot, or have him fight Leon Edwards. Even though I think the timing works out for the title shot. Yeah, that's no more funny business. Okay, that's just how I feel about it. Anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. If you tuned in, agree or disagree, comment below. Hit me up on Twitter. Always responding to people. Happy to talk about whatever. Follow me here, DRE_KRAGGS, Drake Riggs, all that good stuff. Hope you had a happy Thanksgiving holidays, all that stuff. So, yeah, until next time, stay tuned for hopefully some good stuff I got working on. It's been a very interesting November, let's just put it that way, but looking to get firmly back in the saddle. So, peace out.